You grabbed the weapons enough.
All right, hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. This is Rob here at Smirking Gun Reviews, back with more Old Shield new reviews, the show where we forget that Shield's over now, as we go look back at previous seasons that I didn't review. If you look in the archives, we do have seasons 1 and 2 fully reviewed, and we are at season 3, episode 11, so we're basically at the halfway point. But this is just after the end of the first season's arc, where we dealt with chasing down Ward, dealing with Inhuman powers, trying to find Gideon Malick, dealing with the repercussions of what happened with Gemma on the other side in Maveth, and now Coulson has finally killed Ward, but something else has taken his place, has taken up residence inside his body. And that's where we start this back half of the season, and I really loved this format that they did. It was like this in 4, it was like this in 5, and then 6 and 7 kind of became one big, like 6 was kind of like the back half of and 7 was like the back half of 6, I guess is what I'm saying. Like it was one big season, even though it was split up. That's what it felt like. But here we have the introduction, and this is a fun one to talk about. It's a nice palate cleanser. It's a nice way to ease into a new story arc, which is the introduction of Natalia Cordova Buckley's Yo-Yo. I didn't remember a lot about this, and that's one of the great things about rewatching these, is like you know, but you don't really know. You don't remember, and it's so nice to see these all over again for the first time in a long time. And this episode's called Bouncing Back. And anyway, before we get into this, if you are liking these, you know, please hit the like button and subscribe and all that jazz, blah, 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 you know, get all that rigmarole out of the way early. But also at the beginning of this, okay? The beginning of this episode is like 3 months from now. We're in space, we're in the Quinjet, gravity's floating around, and then there's an explosion. So it's the whole who went to space and died in 3 months. It makes me think of season 2 of Breaking Bad, how all their intros were giving like this little clue as to what crazy event happened and did somebody die from it. Where each time, you know, they pull back or they give you a little more information. In this, you see the cross that's around, that's floating in space, and you can see that on Yo-Yo's neck. And I think, does Gemma have one too? I don't remember. But it doesn't matter. It's just one of those things that they keep calling back to get you like, oh no, which one of our team members is gonna die? And it's like, well, for anybody watching this, if this is your first time watching this, and you know, look, it says spoilers for everything. Like, if you haven't seen the season 7 finale, well, the show, you know, unlike other Whedon shows, this show has no problem taking out B characters. Our A characters, for the most part, they're like Teflon, man. They're like so that kind of little foreshadowing as to who's going to die, okay? But I really like the intro to Yo-Yo. We don't even really, you know, see her until the end. And it's kind of a red herring. You know, it's one of those, are we setting up another bad guy character? Where there's a bunch of cops, they get assaulted by an invisible force that's taking their weapons away, and then, you know, one by one, and literally takes the guns out of their car, and we are revealed, we see Natalia Cordova's Yo-Yo, which is not her name until the end, or given to her by Mac until the end, that she's someone who stole a bunch of guns from the cops. So, assumedly, you go, oh, well, she's a bad guy. Although, it's very rare to see in a show anything that has to do with Mexican police or Colombian police in this, I guess would be in this. Not Mexican, I'm sorry. You know what? It's so easy to just screw that up and just think that Mexicans, oh, are Mexicans. No, these are Colombians, which is also synonymous with corruption. So, look, there's corruption of police forces everywhere, especially right now here where we live. So, we're no better, are we? Anyway, not to get too political about it, but yes, she takes these guns from the cops. We also get William Sadler here as POTUS, who, even as an actor, I would rather see him as POTUS than Nevermind. You know where I'm going with this. But William Sadler, he's a great actor. He's been in, of course, one of like probably debatably one of my favorite movies. I always wrestle with, is The Shawshank Redemption the best movie ever made? But William Sadler was in that. He's in movies like Tales from the Crypt, Demon Knight, Judgment. I think he was in that movie Judgment Night with Dennis Leary. Maybe I'm wrong about that one. But William Sadler's been everywhere. He's kind of a staple in also Frank Darabont stuff. But he's great here as the president, who, like, when this was coming out, this was like the like time when Trump was basically taking office, I believe. And wow, really? Um, was it that long ago? Damn. But he's your typical, like, he wants Shield to keep being Shield, but he can't go on record to say that that they're legitimized again because of what happened during the Winter Soldier. So he wants to have the ATCU be the face still of their Inhuman task force, but Shield's really going to be in charge. Um, and when it comes to Gideon Malick, he's like, my hands are tied because, again, politically, I can't touch him. Like, he's made too many connections. So again, it's a very political answers that this guy gives. He gives you no answers, but expects you to do a lot for him. It's so. It is what it is, right? It's what we say. Oh, and he even says, "I thank you for your service," and I wanted to throw up. We also get this Hunter, Bobby, Mac. They're all investigating the scene with Daisy down there in Colombia. It's a really funny scene. Them talking about powers and how the job that was done here could have been done. We couldn't do this, but you get throw one powered person in, and it's like an unfair advantage. They were. Mac was famously on this show. Very xenophobic about it early on. And now it's kind of developed into more like a jealousy of what you could have done, like, and Hunter talking about how he took and how Bobby, he's like, he throws Bobby under the bus, and she's like, rehab was a bitch, I didn't do it, I just thought about it. Even though she kind of has powers. All right, Mockingbird's ability is like memory. In the comics anyway, she's able to like Taskmaster a little bit, kind of mimic and parrot back like physical. Like she's good in a fight like that. Like she can learn fighting skills and things like that. She did it with May. I don't know why they don't bring that up more, or ever really did. Um, but Mac finds Yo-Yo here, and she quickly dispatches him. She takes him hostage. Again, trying to lead us down that is she a bad guy role. Something that a lot of shows do. But especially in a show where a bunch of superheroes are running around or people with powers are running around, um, this they do this quite a bit, which makes me think about the show Heroes. And I know I do have notes, okay, but I like to skip around in my brain, and how that was called Heroes, but really it should have just been called Powers. But I think there was a comic book called Powers. Maybe they're afraid, but still, who gives a shit? They could have gotten there first. Call it Powers, because they didn't do anything really heroic past the first season, right? That whole show was them just running around trying to save the cheerleader, save the world, right? And then after that, it was just them being chased by the government. and Siler and all that crap. It really, they were not. I don't remember them ever really being heroes, and maybe that's a limited. Maybe I don't remember the show correctly, but I remember thinking this as the show was on, was like, heroes has they're not being heroes. They're just running around. They're running around. Anyway, back to this show, this better show, to be honest with you. But that show did have potential. Okay. Um. So she's got him hostage. You know, it's quickly he figures out her powers. You know that she snaps back to where she was. Um, and what they talk about, they find out that she can move 6 meters in the 30th of a second. What she says though later on is basically that her powers are connected to her pulse, and that she can move as fast as she can in the space of one heartbeat. Now, that sounds like a pretty as cool as running really fast is back and forth like that. I find that a lot of these inhuman powers are really when they define their actual abilities. Like Lincoln's lucky; he's just Mr. Lightning Bolt. He's Electro. But a lot of these people have powers that are very, very specifically useful in only one way. And I noticed that, like, it's not like the X-Men. I mean, sometimes the X-Men, you can look at some of those characters and go, what possible use would you have for that? But whatever. I mean, it works still in some ways. But they talk about them being evolutionary, necessary. So I guess, like, if you look at inhuman culture, maybe it's because, like, if that person can be good at one thing, almost like their job, like an evolutionary response, that they're not random. So I guess if they needed certain things, then that power becomes useful. But I don't know. I'm still just kind of raw at the whole fact that the Inhumans thing leads to nothing. Um, Also, we have in this episode Fitz and Coulson right here going through their little deal. Now, my thing is that I think Coulson really has more to deal with than Fitz. Except for Fitz, it's like I killed somebody. You know, the tech guy pulled the trigger and somebody's not walking around anymore. And it looks like Will, but it's not. And technically, he didn't. Not even technically, he didn't kill it. He just doesn't know it yet that he didn't kill it. But it has the face of Will, and so he's carrying around this guilt, like, I killed Will, but, like, no, you didn't kill Will. Will's dead. You know this. But he's also worried, like, his Gemma's going to see, sees that face, connects the death to Fitz. It's a whole thing. Now, Coulson, on the other hand, he's the one who, like, he put Ward down. Ward is gone. And again, it's interesting because, Will was alive, taken by this thing, and, and killed. Fitz attempts to kill that thing and fails, but Coulson does kill Ward. And then this thing gets into him and brings him back now, but nobody knows this yet. And I think that the move that Coulson did to just literally put Ward down is something actually more powerful than what Fitz did. Because Coulson murdered him. Whether he deserved it or not, that's a thing. Like he has to deal with the fact that he killed somebody. Um, and I'm sure that when he comes back, that's going to play a part in this, is like having to look at the guy, because like you see that caved in chest of Ward's, where you can see where the metal hand just crushed his chest. I also want to talk about that. Like, they really did a good job at emaciating the way that Ward looks now, or it looks now in Ward's body. I don't know how much of that is digital or makeup, because Brett Dalton is a very fit man. All right, he is the 100% fully man of manliness. He's a chunk huge large, if you if you get the MST reference there. But beef hard pile, like, he's a good looking, strong, strapping lad. So however they did that to make him look just all scrawny and stuff, unless Brett Dalton maybe lost some weight, knowing, well, I don't want to have to, now that I'm not the leading man on this show anymore, maybe I can lose some weight and let myself do a pull of Christian Bale here. But I don't know. It's really, really impressive. But in this situation, Malick lost all his Inhumans. Basically, he lost a lot of them anyway, and now he needs to replenish them for his army. But they keep bringing it up that it needs them. Now, what does it need them for? Because they were sending sacrifices to feed this thing, and it was still starving. So I can't remember if it feeds on Inhumans, like Lash kills them, but does this thing feed on them? I can't remember. Um, Also, we get this really when they rescue Mac. I love that, the back and forth here, the beginnings of the Mac Yo-Yo relationship, where it starts and where it ends, where he's like, I hate you. I also love the net that they used, where she literally bounces off the net. And in this, we do kind of get the beginnings of this little Secret Warriors team that, again, disappointingly kind of leads to nothing. Where, you got Yo-Yo, Joey, and Daisy all working together near the end of this episode. But also, you have Coulson, after he gets permission from the president to do what he needs to do, and he's trying to find connections to Gideon Malick. They pull, Werner Struck out of his little vegetative state and decide to try to run him through the program that, like, Coulson had, like this machine that they've been using to get his, memories out of him, to get information on Malick. And this poor son of a bitch, he's just like, just kill me. He's trapped in the loop of them murdering him. And Lincoln, then they get convinced him to use his powers to stimulate his brain, so that they pull him out of that loop and they can find the connection that Strucker used to find Malick. Um, which pays off in the end. I mean, we might as well get to that. I mean, they go there and you find out that it's just a room with a phone, and it's connected to Malick, and Coulson does his threats. What the thing about that threat is, it's pretty empty in a way, because Malick, has it. His plan succeeded in the end. He got it back. So he's already thinking down the road, I've won. Coulson, on the other hand, he's thinking that this is kind of like a checkmate, or a move to put him in checkmate, where it's like, oh, I've got all your places, all your ops, all your operations, we're going to shut them all down. And Malick's just like, yeah, whatever. Don't count your chickens before they're hatched, buddy. And I always hate those kind of scenes, because as much as you want to be like, yeah, you realize that Coulson's has no idea yet what's coming. Um, and then we get the whole, like, reveal that Yo-Yo is not a bad guy, or bad lady, bad woman. That she's using her powers for good to take the guns away from the Colombian police, who are using them to, hurt people that she loves. The whole place. This is great. The fact that she's standing still and you get to see her moving around, that's really badass effect. Um, that her cousin that she's working with, they were dumping the guns in the river. It all checks out. She's talking about this is a gift from God. Whatevs. That, they try to explain that it was the fish that did it. She gets it then, but still, we kind of harp on that whole, there's a plan to all this. Um, but they find out too late that the cops also have their own Inhuman. And this guy, he turns you basically to stone when he looks at you. And when you look at him, I would say just close your eyes maybe. Is that what you should do? But he takes them in, and they want to know what S.H.I.E.L.D's really doing there. And this is where we have a really fun scene. It's kind of like a little mini X-Men, X-Force type of thing, where you got all the power people come in. You got Joey who like melts all the guns, and you've got Daisy and Yo-Yo like teaming up for the first time, and the joy on her face when she's bouncing around and taking things. You can see that she really, like she might be using her powers for good, but she really likes doing it. And I love that. You don't get to see that kind of happiness on a character. Usually there's so much angst around they're using their powers, and oh, am I gonna hurt somebody or whatever. Her power is just jumping around and taking things. There's not much risk in hurting anybody. I mean, she could hurt people really easily, but she doesn't. And they find the guy who melts, like freezes you. They melt the glasses to his face, but he ends up getting taken anyway. I feel like that scene was a little weird because Hydra just drops in, opens a hole in there, and they all just kind of stand there like duh, as a net comes down and just picks the guy up. Like what? Like couldn't they have had Yo-Yo jump up there like like run up the rope and pull him down? I don't know. Again, they want to have the power, the evil Inhumans, stacked with Malick's group. Um, and in the end, they give her like this special watch, right? So this way, her and like Joey can like go live their lives. Also, you can save budget. You don't have to have everybody on the show at the same time. Just make a little Apple Watch where you can click and say you need help or we need help, that kind of thing. Also, it's interesting that I forgot that Yo-Yo's character didn't speak like really any English in the first introduction, and there's a lot of subtitles, and I like that. I like that her character is, she's not just, oh, of course I speak English because the show needs me to. I like that. I like that her learning English is a process. Her becoming part of the team is a process. She doesn't just jump right in. She talks, it's like in reality, people have lives and families and they can't just disappear and go, bye everybody. But it's also kind of part of the culture too, a very strong familial, relationship that they have, I think, and a lot of cultures that aren't just isn't quite here in America as strong. I feel like is that connection to duty towards one's whole family. Not just like mom and dad and your brothers and sisters, but like cousins, aunts, uncles. Like, there's a bigger sense of family, and I like that they represent that here. That she can't just she's gonna stay. She will help. She does permanently become part of the team, but I feel like when she becomes permanently part of the team, if you look at what the stories are telling, right, she really doesn't have a chance to go back home. Once the back half of season 4 goes, and we're dealing with like the framework and stuff, and then framework space, all this other shit. It's like, yeah, maybe she wants to go home, but she can't. Um, Fitz and Simmons start over after everything, like reintroductions. Even that is a way of keeping them apart. That drives us nuts. It's like, could you just cut, do a hard cut to black. Next scene, they're in bed together. I don't. Like, we already know that this is where it's headed. Just let's do it. Let's stop this whole will they, won't they, when we know that they will. Um, and then we have the president telling Phil that the new head of the ATCU is General Talbot. So Talbot's coming back. Constantly recurring character, Adrian Pasdar from the show Heroes, and also was the voice of Iron Man in a couple of the cartoons, is going to be back. He's great, actually, on this show. I actually like him way better here than he was on Heroes, even though I did like his character on Heroes. Everything in Season 1 of Heroes was good, guys, okay? I don't want to diss all of Heroes. Season 1, that was one of those special seasons. But Adrian will be back. I don't know why I keep talking about Heroes. So that's cool. And the stinger here is, you get to see part of its powers. Like, he wants him speaking to Malick's, bodyguard Inhuman, to be a believer as well. So you know, it looked like the Mummy from the, you know, like the old Brendan Fraser version of the Mummy, where it's the dust comes off, and I believe it's influence, right? He gets into their heads. It's how he takes people over, that kind of thing. So anyway, that's it for this review. Next week we are dealing with. Sorry, let's just go right to it. I always forget the titles. The Inside Man. That's episode 12. Coulson and General Talbot attend an international conference about Inhumans where they discover that Gideon Malick has planted a spy in their midst. But then after that, episode 13, I know I talked to, one of my friends and collaborators that I work with all the time. He doesn't like this episode. I was really shocked. I think but he's got really good reasons, and it's starting to make me wonder if if I need to take a better look at that. But next week, it's The Inside Man. Great movie by Spike Lee also. So, have a great day, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll be back next week with more Old Shield new reviews. If you like this, please hit the like button and subscribe. Otherwise, peace out, everybody. And as always, here is your moment of Zen. Bye.
Invisibility. Imagine the possibilities.
What are you imagining?
Nothing fun.
Get used to it. Can't put the Terrigen genie back in the bottle. Powers is the new normal.
I think you're just jealous.
Damn right I am. Tell me you didn't try one of those little fish oil pills. I had my fingers crossed for X-ray vision. I was just curious. I wasn't the only one.
I mean, I thought about it. I didn't actually do it.
You two deserve each other.